And we are live. What is up, you guys? Thank you for joining us this evening. Let me tell you about the very first thing, and by far the most important thing that we are going to be going over this evening, and that is the beers that we are going to be drinking. So, the first one that I'm going to drink, and yes, I did say first one, this is from New Belgium, and we actually talked about that one last week. This one's called Hop Raider IPA, and the GF got me this one. I love New Belgium, and I've never actually had this before. So I'm super excited to drink it because it's 8.1%. And when you have kind of an empty stomach, like, I have right now, and, we got Scott backstage, we've already said this is going to be a good one. So let me pour this one out real quick and give you my thoughts. Hello there, Tornado Kid. I see you in the chat. So, ooh, I like the color. It's kind of light for basically a double IPA that's supposed to be really hoppy. Let's see. Actually, I'll just drink it from the can. So, oh, that is delicious. Holy shit, that's delicious. This, so I think I've said it. I really like citrus hopped IPAs. And this is, oh my God, New Belgium is already really good, but this is fantastic. This is really, really good. New Belgium Hop Raider IPA. Oh yeah, the GF absolutely nailed it with this one. So, all right, a little update for you guys. Now, some of you will be disappointed about this. Others will be happy about it. But in the interest of transparency, Clary was supposed to join me tonight, and he even said he was going to. Even on Twitter, he's like, "I'm totally going to join for this." Well, guess what? He bailed. He flaked on me. And rather than be charitable about the reason, I'm actually going to read you the texts directly from what he gave me, so we can all make fun of him for this because that's not cool, man. So 10:09 a.m. this morning, Central Time. Now Clary knows that he's got an open invite to every single one of these shows that I do. That's he just does. So 10:09 a.m. he goes, "I'll join tonight." I'm like, "Oh," and I was happy to see it because I thought, with Clary here and then we'll get Scott on, this would be really fun. So I text him back right after that. I go, "Nice. Do you want to tweet us out? I've already got it on my Twitter." And he goes, "Sure, I'll do that right now." So, I'm pretty excited. I do my work throughout the day. I'm like, "Great." Then I get a text just a few hours later at 1:13 p.m. And you guys want to know what that text said? I'm going to read it to you. "I may not make it. Weather turned, and I'll probably play poker instead." So, guys, we got flaked so Clary could play poker with a bunch of old men at some cigar lounge or some bar or some whatever out there. He would rather do that than hang out with us. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm actually a little bit, I'm a little offended by that. And I get it. Clary's got to have a life, or as much as you can have that's considered a life out in South Dakota. There's really nothing to do. But I understand. But damn, I was pretty disappointed about that. But here we are. But like I said, some of you may actually be relieved rather than disappointed. But like I said, I think it's always a little bit more fun when he's here. Plus, he does draw a crowd. Everybody wants to hang out with Cappy. Maybe not in person, but certainly over, YouTube. So, but who knows? If he finishes early, he will. He may pop on. So we'll just keep that in mind. By the way, Red Hawk, I see. I did. Did you not get my? I sent you a response. Didn't you get it? Check your DMs, or I'll go back and look. But I don't think we'll go back and look. So, all right. Before we get going, we'll bring Scott on here. I just wanted to talk about one more thing. This is my own mini rant that you guys have heard me rant about before. This one's going to be about United Airlines yet again. And here's the thing. Look, if you're flying, American Airlines, United Airlines, Delta Airlines, they're all pretty much the same for the most part. I mean, let's be honest. They're better than flying like, Frontier or Spirit. Cappy loves Spirit. Actually, the GF flew Spirit a few weeks ago, and this was funny. She had to go on a work-related trip one weekend out to Florida. This is after, I left with her. I'd been visiting her during my last visit, actually. And we go to the airport at the same time. So I arranged it so we would fly out at the same time. I flew back to Chicago. So I walk her to her terminal because my flight was later. And I swear to God, like the Spirit terminal, it looked like a refugee camp. I'm like, holy shit, no wonder it's like the cheap, airline. So that was fine. And she said, when she got to Florida, she's like, it actually wasn't that bad. Spirit ended up being okay. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. I never really thought I would fly it, but she said it wasn't that bad. Guess what she had to fly on the way back from Florida? I'm not going to tell y'all. This is a worse airline than Spirit, and I'm going to give y'all a minute to see if somebody can guess. I knew about this airline. I did not know it was this bad. I knew it was in like the category of Spirit, but if you can believe it, there's an airline worse than Spirit. I'll give y'all a minute because I want to take another sip of this. God damn, this is good. I can't believe this is 8.1%. Somebody said JetBlue. I've never actually flown JetBlue. I've actually heard good things. Yeah, Art Vandalay got it. Frontier. Holy shit, she had bad things to say about Frontier. I mean, we're talking cramped seating. Like she was stuck between two fat people and like a crying baby. And oh my God, she was like texting me like as they're taxing, she's like, this is horrible. This is the worst ever. We're stuck in the back. There's no room. They cramp you in there. And so she's telling me that. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's just a 2-hour flight. Let me know how it goes. She lands, back in Texas. She immediately texts me. She's like, that was the worst fucking experience of my entire life. So to be fair, I've never flown Spirit. But Frontier, I'm not even going to try Frontier. That sounds god awful. I mean, holy shit. Me, Mike, I'm drinking New Belgium Hop Raider IPA, and it's damn good. So far, this is phenomenal. So anyway, so yeah, Frontier, not so good. I don't think you should. I don't think you guys should ever fly that, no matter how cheap it is. I mean, the amount of add-ons, they charge you like $77 to check a bag and something like $50 for a carry-on. It's insane. It's like, yeah. And was this me, Mike? Delta and JetBlue definitely towards the top. Spirit, Frontier suck. Mexicana. I've never flown Mexicana, but if it's any like Frontiers, I just won't try it. So anyway, I brought all this up because I flew United again last night. I got in late, but my complaint is that per the suggestion from Clary and others, what you do is you pay to move up to the front of the airplane and get a wider seat. In United, it's a mini upgrade. It's called like Economy Plus, I think. So I did that because I'm like, there's not going to be like, crying kids. I'll have more space. And this was a late flight and I kind of wanted to get some sleep. Well, guess what was right in front of me? Holy shit. I'm not going to rip on kids, okay? And Scott will talk about this in a second. This toddler in front of me, holy fucking shit. Now, I've been on a lot of airplanes with kids on them. And, I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit annoying, but, whatever. This toddler did not stop like screaming. I was at the window. And so the toddler was right in front of me on the window. It was a girl. And she was flying with her dad, who was in the middle seat. And he was, paying constant attention to her. I could literally see in the reflection of the window, she would like scream and carry on for the whole flight. And she would like, kick her. Sorry, I got muted there for a second. Anyway, this toddler would like kick and scream to the point where it was just like the whole flight. And I you try to be empathetic or sympathetic or whatever, and you can't really, there's nothing you can do. You're stuck in this tin can. And the dad was trying, but oh my God, that was the worst. That is literally the worst toddler I've ever encountered while being on a flight. The one that was right in front of me. And I don't want to blame it on United, but I just want to say these bad experiences that I have with kids or smelly kids or smelly people or delays, it just always seems to be United. Okay, I mean, I've got elite status on American at this point, but United's fares lately are from Dallas to Chicago. They're a lot cheaper for some reason. I'm just gonna stop being a cheap asshole, and I'm just gonna pay extra because I don't. They are kind of the same, American and United. I just, for whatever reason, seem to have more bad experiences on United, so it could just be bad luck. But that was my trip down here last night, and other than that, I'm really happy to be down here. I'm here for a week, and then for Thanksgiving, I'm going to go visit my parents out in New Mexico. I don't know if I'll be doing a show. I'm leaving a week from today to go from here to New Mexico for Thanksgiving. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a show Tuesday because I normally do it Tuesdays. I don't know if I'll do it next Tuesday. I might. I actually might. We'll see if the GF wants us to do anything. But yeah, so that's just a heads up on that. I'll tell you about Scott in a second, and then we'll bring him on. But I want somebody to first answer this question from Red Hawk. What's worse, crying babies or fat asses? I want to know what you guys think before I chime in on this one. What's up, Atham? We need you to moderate. So anyway, I don't know what's worse. Probably fat people, because like if you're really crunched in, between two of them, there's really nothing you can do. Like you're kind of screwed. Yeah, Parker, I think, yeah, probably. Yeah, Matt, I think fat ass is probably, it is a tough choice. Yeah. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not trying to fat shame, but it is tough to be stuck on a flight between two fat people. Alex, yeah, what do you think? I'm a father of 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, and as much as I love my kids, I'm very aware how little turds they can be, so I refuse to fly with my own kids. Scott, I'm going to want your thoughts on this as soon as I bring you on. Yeah. So, yeah, and yeah, the babies, at the end of the day, they are kind of innocent. I mean, they're just kids. They're not deliberately trying to like ruin your life. They're just being kids. So, yeah, Jennifer, what are you saying? I was going to New Mexico for Thanksgiving also. Must have taken a wrong turn at Albuquerque. I actually have to go to Santa Fe, but I have to fly into Albuquerque. So, yeah. I see some super chats. Scott, I'm going to get caught up with the super chats real quick, and then we'll bring you right on. Okay, cool. Thanks for the super chat, you guys. That's really cool of you. With Clary not here, I appreciate the super chats, because when we get them, he doesn't get half of them, and he hates that. So, Scott, half of these are yours. That's my rule. Eric Burns Marsh for $5. Chad, I've been telling you since day one, you need a better co-host. Yeah. Now, as always, I have to be fair. Without Clary, none of you guys probably even know I exist, and I don't have a channel. I'm up to about, I'm almost at 1,800 subscribers. So, I have to, let's be honest, without Clary, I don't really have a presence on here. So do I need a better co-host? I think what I need to do is have good guests on, like the one we're about to have on, and that kind of keeps it entertaining. So I think that's what I'll do going forward. Me, Mike, for $2. Don't have to share the money. Thing is, I'm happy to share it. I'm always happy to share it, but not necessarily with Clary, because I've given him a lot of super chats in the last couple of months, and again, I'm just kind of playing around. I'm happy to do it because I've been on his channel before, and he's given me half of the super chats, so I'm happy to do it. But super chats are always the best. It's beer money at the end of the day, so I can buy more, Hop Raider IPA from New Belgium. Eric Burns Marsh for $2. Are Frontier's government fines tax deductible? Actually, I don't, taking your question at face value, I don't think fines are considered tax deductible expenses. I think you're kind of screwed with those. So could be wrong, but I think I'm right about that. You certainly can't deduct IRS penalties, at least unless I've been doing it wrong the past few years. See what else? Angel Vict for $5. Hey Chad, studying for a job at Jackson Hewitt, so I can't watch live. Really enjoying the streams lately. Keep it up. Thanks, Angel. So you're Angel, if you wouldn't mind, and if you had a second, if you're studying, you're talking about Jackson Hewitt, and I'm more familiar with, of course, the programs at H&R Block. I would like to know what your experiences are with Jackson Hewitt because I don't hear about them that much. So if you have a second and you're willing to share, shoot me an email because I do get the occasional question about the non H&R Block jobs. Somebody was asking about Liberty Tax the other day, and I say I don't really know. So I would love to know if you have any thoughts about that. And I know you might not have started yet, so this could be sometime in the future. But thank you for the super chat. Me Mike for $5. Just a thought, Chad. Perhaps you could do a detailed show about airline travel and business deductions eligibility. Get into the weeds about go, no go. That's actually not a bad idea. It's really not because a lot of people who are self-employed do have to travel for business. And it'll give me an opportunity to complain about airlines and traveling, which I love to do because I'm in a long distance relationship. So I've been, traveling a lot. And I'm always happy to do it because I can't wait to see her every time. But sometimes the airlines really suck, as you hear me complain about a lot. So yeah. Let's see what else. I think we're probably Hatton Clogs. What's up, dude? $5. Did you see Cappy got $100 super chat? Hail me, Mike. Keep Cappy away from the dogs. I did see that. I don't remember what video it was. He might have been on with actually Jack Napier and Rare, or maybe it was a different one. But yeah, Clary did get $100 super chat, and you know what? The guy deserves it. Not being sarcastic, the guy puts out some good material, and he's really crushing it these days. So we want Clary to get super chats. We want it so he doesn't have to share them with anybody, let alone me. But that means I don't have to share them with him, when he's not on here. So that's just how I roll. And I think that is it. So perfect. All right, cool. So you guys, we got a good show in store tonight because I am going to introduce you to, y'all know him as Joseph Hatchett because you've seen him give way too generous super chats. I think the last couple of shows we've done, he's been on here just kind of talking about the business and everything. And so after he did that, it was probably 2 weeks ago, I said, shoot me an email, man. These are generous. I want to hear about what you do. Let's talk shop. And so he did. And, we emailed each other and we even talked. And I'm like, dude, we got to get you on the show because Scott is an EA. Now, if you remember last week, we had an EA candidate on. We had Parker, who's in the process of taking the exams. So, he had that part covered. Now we got Scott, who not only already got the EA certification, he actually started his own practice. So this is what you guys need to be modeling yourselves after. For those of you who don't want to go the CPA route and you want to do what I'm doing and what Scott are doing, this is like a blueprint for it. Like, listen to this. This is going to be so invaluable. So you're in for a treat. Let me read this one last super chat from Red Hawk for $1.99. Quick, Cappy's not here. Send Chad your money. That is correct. You guys, so we might get Clary on next week. I always like it. He's got an open invite. So what you want to do is, I don't want you to give me big super chats when he's on. We want to reserve them for tonight when he's not on, because then I can share them with somebody else. So I just got to give him shit for flaking on me. That's kind of how we roll. So without further ado, I am going to bring on Scott Hatchett, EA, and he is going to talk about what he's got going on, including what beer he's drinking. So, Scott, what has happened, man?
Hello, how are you? Thanks for having me. So most important is the beer. You introduced yours.
Yes, please. You were telling me what you were drinking earlier.
Yes, so we have State 48, Sound of Freedom, Mosaic Hopped IPA. They didn't have the beer I was shooting for earlier, from College Street. So I went for one that I've never tried, something new on the show. And if anyone's ever in Phoenix, go to their brewery. It's really good. So anything on the tap is going to be better than what's in a can.
Do you know if you can get that outside of Arizona, or is it just kind of regional?
I'm assuming if it's something like, we have some place called Arizona Beer House.
Mm.
They have like 400 beers across their refrigerator around the bar area, and then they'll take like 48 every month from a different area of the U.S.
Oh,
so
okay.
they may ship kegs outside. I'm not too familiar. Like I told you earlier, I don't drink often, but when we do, we try to try something different.
Yeah, we were talking about that. And I meant to actually ask you this backstage. Is there a particular type of beer? Like, I'm an IPA guy. Do you have a favorite type of beer?
I was a Mexican. I was an amber and like a coffee hop type. Sometimes you can find a 9% coffee, darker beer. But recently, the Voodoo Ranger turned me on to the IPA. Their IPA is very smooth, and I was like, "There's no way this is considered an IPA."
I got a Voodoo Ranger in there, and that might be my next beer.
Yeah. So so now I'm trying them all. One of the coffee shops I do work for, they have beers in their coffee shop, and so he's a huge IPA fan, and he'll sample the best because he likes to throw money away.
Just a real quick inside joke here. So Clary's joke, because I always had it this way, was like, if you're an accountant, we have like nondescript white backgrounds because, of course, we're not ritzy. We don't have special blue lighting like Clary has in the little studio. So we're not special enough for that.
Did he really build? Is that a real studio? Like a set, or is it just
It's a room in his house, but he actually did a good job with it because he soundproofed like the whole thing. So it's actually really well done. And, he kind of decorated it. So I don't know if Atham's still here. We've determined that that's actually a haunted room because we've stayed at his place and we're like, there's some weird energy going on in there because he built that place like. So you never know.
It fits his personality, the dark colors and.
It does.
Yeah.
Just quick shout out to Bacon. Just here for the beer. So, dude, if you're drinking right now, keep us posted because I like whenever I tune into your show and I can. You always are drinking some good stuff there. So, but awesome. Scott, tell us about yourself because you're going to be providing a lot of good info for these guys.
All right, so I'll kind of go back when we spoke when I was at the zoo with the family this last week. All right, so I come from a military background. I got out of the work in 2013 because I went active duty into an agency, out of the agency in 2013 when we had our first kid. Long story short, had an accounting background from college courses I took before, wanted to just follow through, got the degree finished. 2015, went into healthcare finance, corporate accounting, largest healthcare system in Arizona, 31 hospitals. It's a regional, Banner Health is the name of it. And it was just a drone mentality. I was going crazy. I took, a position at a hospital they acquired, then went to corporate, then went to another 2 hospitals they acquired since I was familiar with the bannerizing of new hospital systems, bringing in Lawson and some of the conversion work that goes on there. So then just got to the point where droning on, getting my work done in 2 hours, sitting there for 6 was just beating me to death. So in 2017, I started doing, self-employment work, taxes on the side, and got the master's degree finished around the same time. Was having a hell of a time getting through the CPA because all of our CFOs were MBAs. They weren't accounting backgrounds. They're all finance degrees. They were.
So they don't get it. They did not understand it.
No. And so when I would have them, once you take the exams and get your 75 or higher, you then submit to the state with certification from either a CPA or a like CPA person. They didn't consider the CFOs at those levels to be considered equivalent work. So have fun working through that, depending on what state you're in. I have a friend now who is in the 82nd Airborne. We're all out at Fort Bragg at one time or another. In North Carolina, they want 4 different letters. He's gone through the master's. He's got 2 years of accounting experience. can't get a CPA. He's passed it. They won't sign off on it.
Now, is there a reason they won't sign off on it, or is it just they don't deem it like? What's the story? It's just not.
It's not a CPA. He's only worked at one employer, and so they want separate letters from different employers with CPAs there signing off on it. And the fraud behind it is if you are a public accountant and you're working with, a senior auditor who is a CPA, they'll fudge that all day for you. Oh,
right.
Sign it.
This is why, real quick, this is why your story like makes me feel terrible, because like most accountants, like if somebody came to say I was working with somebody, they were working under me, they were doing taxes for me, and they did it for a while. In Illinois, it's just 1 year. They might have changed it to 2. Of course, I'm going to sign off on it. Like, this is not, it's just really lame when you got people that are like, well, I don't know, I'm not going to sign off on that.
Yeah.
So I just feel bad that you had to go through all that trouble to study for those exams, like get the material and do all that shit.
So then while working, I said, screw it. The EA has the same reciprocity as a tax lawyer, CPA.
Yes.
And the whole point is not to get in public accounting and a test and everything else. So I just want a tax practice.
Yes.
Took the 3 tests within a 7-month period. With family and everything, it was really tough. It came out of my sleep, studying for it. So I found the business side pretty difficult. So if anyone's taking it, the business side, when you're getting into accumulated adjustment accounts and just how the S corps work and pass-throughs and understanding the K1 and some of the work that goes with that. Yeah, I think that would be, if you don't have any tax experience on the business side, that's where you're going to struggle.
Scott, did you take that? What order did you take that one?
I went 1, 3, 2. So individual representation business.
Okay, so the business was last.
Yeah.
Okay, and would you have done it differently if you could have done it over again, or do you think that's kind of the right way to do it?
1, 3, 2 is fair, but there's plenty of other people that just go 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
It depends on how you learn. I use Fast Forward Academy. I think I told you in some of those chats.
Oh yeah.
Their videos are very strong. They're entertaining. They're not boring. Gleam sucked.
Oh really? That's interesting, because last week, Parker was saying that he thought Gleam was useful, but I guess it's
I never used the books. I used all videos and went through the test questions.
Oh wow! So you didn't have to like purchase.
It included.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah, it was cheaper just to go ahead and I paid for the full package where you got the 3 books, the video, and then you have lifetime until you pass, basically, for like $700 or $600, whatever it was. And then, so I just blew through the questions, similar to the securities exams that I recently took to get the broker-dealer opened up. That's a whole nother story, but it's not necessarily what you know. It's memorizing the question to recognize what they're testing to be able to pick the right answer.
So you wouldn't recommend Gleam then? Don't waste your money, or?
No, so I use Gleam as well through the master's with the CPA prep. So the master's in accountancy, the capstone was studying for the 4 exams.
Okay.
Yeah, they used Gleam, and it was just the most boring, asinine stuff. Roger's CPA review is another awesome one, because Roger's CPA review.
Roger's CPA review. Okay.
He's very entertaining, and he brings life to it. And he's gone through it himself. He was a public accountant auditor. And he'll tell you, this question's stupid, and here's why. Here's what you want to look for. So there's just different. Everyone learns different.
I stand corrected. You're right, Nick, as Steve. He did use passkey. I just remembered we talked about Gleam, and I think he didn't use passkey. That. Okay. So passkey.
I could never read this shit. It would be too boring.
Dude, I studied for the CPA. It's been 11 years, but that drove me almost to I thought I was going insane. And that's why I feel so terrible for you. You had to do the CPA exams in addition to all this. I mean, that sucks.
It does. So it's learning how to test. I mean, it's kind of helped out in the long run, going through the CPA exams and then the enrolled agent, that portion made it easier. And then getting into the securities exams, the models of the tests are very similar, where it's just memorizing what they're trying to test. And so you can pick the correct answer from the 4 that they give you, or work through the math
Here's Parker, who we had on
Yeah.
last week. Reading it is very boring. Probably going to try the videos next time for part 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say, Parker, get through the exams, and then the reality of the tax prep, which Fast Forward Academy did a really good job within the notes, and they'll answer your questions within 24 hours if you have questions. They'll tell you that this course isn't to teach you how to actually file a client or file a business. It is to pass the test.
Funny how that works. You would think they
Yeah.
should be related, but
They're not at all. Yeah.
One thing I did want to ask you real quick, because you are in a very unique position to answer this question. I'm not sure anybody else can. How much? I know they're not exactly the same in terms of material, but I mean, how would you compare the CPA exams to the EA exams in terms of like pain and like how do you classify the two, if you can even remember?
CPA is much harder because it's broad.
It's got more material. Yeah.
It's an inch deep and a mile wide, where
Yeah.
the 3 exams for the EA are specific to what you're going to be doing, the tax practice. Now, with the new transition with the CPA exam moving to specialties in 2024, from what I understand, how ridiculous! You got to take 4 exams, then a specialty 5th exam.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling you. Like, you guys are gonna be dinosaurs. You're gonna die with your exam or your CPA certification and the exams, and they're gonna push people to become lawyers or EAs.
And, you've heard me say, and again, this is good for you and I, Scott, there's already a shortage of tax professionals right now, and they are just not making it any easier. So I don't, I understand why they're tweaking it. I just think they're not doing it how they really should be doing it.
100%, man. Like, if your whole goal is to be a public auditor, Big 4, regional, Big 8, whatever they call them, dude, the CPA is where you need to be. The EA is worthless unless you're working in the tax element of that firm. But the CPA is priceless if you have time to get through it, if you have the money to get through it, if you can sacrifice your life for about 18 months, 12 to 18 months. I mean,
it's good. I've said this before, and I just tell people this every day. Like, the CPA is honestly, at this point, it's just good marketing. Like, it sounds good. Like, I'm the CPA. There's nothing that I studied or that I did that somebody who's an EA can't or couldn't do.
Right.
It's just a different way of arriving at the same place. So I absolutely agree with you. If you're going into tax, you do not have to get a CPA. It's just marketing. I'm going to do a quick super chat. I don't normally do this, but I thought you should answer this. Matt for $1.99. Thoughts on getting Series 65 with an EA?
Okay, so my story behind this is when my first year in 2020 was really the first year I started the LLC, and then formed the C Corp for the business. And like I told you, I started on the business side more than the individual side because of one word of mouth. And that was a person I worked with at the hospital. Her husband was a manager at a pizza joint, who the owner was big money, knew everyone on the golf course, and then it just kind of spread from there. So I had referred a affluent client to Edward Jones, and hopefully we don't get sued for bashing them. But they sell something called a LIRP, a life insurance retirement plan, where certain broker dealers will not sell these products because you need to be a certain age, you need to have a certain net worth, and then if they sell them to you, it better make a lot of sense. Like, my broker dealer, they don't even offer a LIRP. And to get an annuity type product like that, you have to be older and in a certain financial stage of your life. This guy was 39. They had $1.2 million in the bank, $300,000 in their checking account. They were just looking for a place to grow their money so he could retire at 52. They had a plethora of kids. So this guy at Edward Jones sold him the LIRP. And so I had to break off the engagement because it wasn't the best ethical and moral position for him to be in financially, and it wasn't a good tax plan. So I couldn't come and run a parallel with him on the tax plan with trying to get this guy's small business and his W-2 in line with getting the SEP set up and getting the company simple set up. And then he's got his company 401k and then getting his wife on board. So he basically at 52, he would borrow against the money he puts into it. with an interest rate and everything else. And so you can make more money under your mattress. So I decided to get I got the Series 6 63 here in Arizona. The 63 will give you the same reciprocity as a 65 as an IRA, because there's a law that was passed. And so you can actually do managed accounts in Arizona, but the 65 is awesome.
Scott, it's very quick. Are these hard certifications to get? I don't know a lot about them. The 63.
With a lot of the Barack Obama 8 years in securities law, a lot of stuff got passed. You have to take the SIE exam before you can take the 6. Then you have to take the 63 if you want to deal with life insurance and annuity products in the state that you live in. The 65 is for managed accounts. So for him, he would have to take, if you're doing the 65, just take the SIE, the 7, and 66. You'll have less questions across those 3 tests than you will doing the SIE 6, 63, 65, which is what I did.
And are these difficult? Like, I know nothing about this material. Like, do you have to study a lot, or is it?
65 is 135 questions, and you need 92 or 94 correct. You need 72% on that.
Okay, similar to CPA-ish.
Yeah. So yeah, different difficulty. Series 6, you'll blow through. SIE, you'll blow through. 63 is a pain in the ass. I took it twice. I missed it the first time, had to wait 30 days, and then went back and took it, and got done with 30 minutes left.
And just real quick, what study materials did you use for that, if anything?
What is that? Test Guru and Securities Guys.
Okay.
Look those guys up. Yeah, very good videos. I used Securities Guys, and I used Test Guru as the control to make sure that I wasn't missing anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, you've taken a lot of tests.
But now when I have a business that needs to open a SEP, like tomorrow, I have an S Corp in California that needs some retirement planning with the S Corp to offset $92K in net income. There we go. We're gonna look at that. We'll run a W-2. We'll set her up the simple, and then she'll contribute to the Roth. So,
see, Scott's in a position. I mean, I know about the various retirement plans available to S Corp owners and other business owners. I mean, Scott's actually certified in this stuff, so he's kind of got even more than I do when it comes to dealing with clients' specific needs on this. So, man, like, you are in a real power position, and I think
no more referring out. Yeah, I mean, it's really helped out with, if I refer to Joe Schmo money manager that's going to charge 1% of AUM, assets under management, and he turns out to be a douchebag, that looks bad on me, man. So you're taking a lot of risk when you refer out, depending on different services, whether it's, hey, I need liability insurance for my business. Who would you recommend?
Right.
I have a good State Farm rep here locally. There's another farmers rep up the street that are pretty good. They help out. So if one can't cover, I go to the other for high risk and high, like a bar has different coverage requirements. So State Farm won't touch them, but farmers will, because they have third-party networks that'll help out with the insurance coverage. So
I got a little bit lucky because a couple of and they're close friends. Like, these are not guys off the street. Guys I went to grad school with are financial planners, and they have these certifications. Yeah. So I trust them implicitly. And if I need to set a S Corp client or another client up, with a simple or a SEP or even a solo 401k, I'm just like, go see my guy. But you don't like, it's like, you're kind of a one shop there. Like, you got this with all
it sucks, man. Like, the one thing I want to get rid of is payroll.
Oh, dude, I don't do payroll. I just outsource that. I will not do payroll. I have a partnership with ADP. I mean, have you considered that? Or
I have, but at the same time, they want to everyone I talk to, like, let's say Pima Behavioral Health, like, hey, we want one point of contact.
Oh, they just want.
So I'm forced. I'm like, if I want this client base, if I want the $2,000 at tax season, I'm going to suck the egg and make $100 a month on them for 12 months and then make the $2,000 at tax season.
You kind of have my sympathies, man, because I really hate the payroll reports. Ugh, the quarterlies.
Well, it's all automated. I push a button. How many hours do you want? Or, who's the 1099 making me? 20 hours to Jack Smith. Okay, cool. It's done. And then all of it's pushed through the payroll vendor. So I
Right.
affiliated with Patriot Software, and I'm helping them do some development to get some capabilities. I
Good
was on the
stuff.
phone call. Yeah. So they're going to get some capabilities that will duplicate what QuickBooks does. And so with the affiliate program, I can offer, full service payroll at $25.90 a month because of the tier I'm in.
Yeah.
Plus $2.80 per employee, and then their accounting software. We're working on reporting to get their reports unscrewed. There, because of the tier I'm in, it's another $25 a month. We're going to get our first price increase this next year, so everything's
really?
into the 30s.
Okay.
Yeah, but it still beats what QuickBooks is going to give you for that first break on the 3 months, and then they double your price for their infinite time.
And others charge more. Like I've heard that it can get
Yeah,
higher. Others.
Gusto, Zero, all of them. They get you pretty good.
They do.
Yeah.
I want to. This isn't a super chat, but I did want to put it up here from Mateo. Scott, I may refer future clients to you for SEP, IRA setup, etc. I have no idea about the back end for that stuff. Can't trust these typical financial planners. I mean, is this the type of referral you would want, or do you want to just make it more tax referrals where you can be open about it?
Yeah. So part of this, so you can have your tax practice, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's something called the outside business activity that FINRA, you have to report to FINRA and all of your brochures for managed accounts. So the financial management side is completely separate. It's
more regulations.
Right. So it has to be separate. That would be Scott Hatchett, the IAR, not the EA.
Right.
So let's just say you had a building and an office. You have to have one door that says EA, and the other door across the hall has this be your financial. Literally has to be two different locations. So and that's all FINRA, man. That's making sure that commingled businesses don't end up screwing the client. So long story short, yes, please feel free, send them my way. So you guys know, typically there's managed accounts with $50,000 or more. Those rates will float between 0.35%, 35 basis points, all the way up to 1.8, depending on how much money you bring in. Then there's something called the A share, which is a front-loaded fee, usually around, and has break points from 50,000 all the way to $1 million. When you get with my broker dealer, once you get to $1 million, there's no fee. 300,000 is 1.6, and I think it's like 2.8 up to 250, and then everything below that kind of works its way back up to like 5.5. So you pay the front-loaded fee, you're in that family of funds, and you can move around within that family of funds as much as you want, no more fees. Any new money, depending on the amount, would fall back into those breakpoint fee charges. Then you have B shares, which are low upfront, high back end. C shares are similar, and then you have the Vanguards. You have the Fidelity no load funds where they'll eat the fees just to get your money. So you pay $20, 50 grand or more. $20 is waived for the account, and then from there you really have to look at, hey, is the 5% fee worth the performance? And then you have to compare performance, which if it's an index fund, most index funds are within 1 to 2 basis points of the index. So I mean, if you could get something without the fee, it kind of makes sense. But if you want someone to actively manage your money with life events, then it may make sense to pay the front-loaded fee or a fee year over year.
And Scott, I hope this isn't a sort of pedantic question, but I mean, are you happy that you sort of blended the investment certifications inside of it with the tax practice, or do you feel like maybe you'd prefer to have just left it?
I like being able to help out with like the group plans. So like a kindergarten I work with, we're going to bring in a group plan in 2023. It'll be your second year running the kinder, but she wants to offer some more professional type benefits, health insurance, all of that stuff. So being able to provide that and be a one-stop shop brings a lot of credibility. Her husband's a dermatologist, and then they play golf and they jaw jack together at the cocktail parties, and then before you know it, you have 3 more referrals. Hey, this guy needs help.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I know it's probably a little more stressful, but I mean, God, the networking opportunities alone. Like, I mean, this is, to me, when you told me you did this, I was like, to me, this is a really good niche, but I don't know how much stress. I only know the tax, all the tax
Mhm.
related stress. I don't know how much stress you get from the investment side, which is kind of why I asked about it.
You just have to, I mean, disclose the fees. Tell them everyone's getting hit right now.
Mhm.
And really, I mean, what I'm looking at when I bring in people into these family of funds, what's down 35% year to date.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but historically, some of those are up 21% over 10 years. So
Yeah.
that's the value right now. Buy them low, and then the next 10 years, 10 to 20-year time frame, if you have that time frame. Whew,
Yeah.
yeah. So that reverse dollar cost averaging model kind of works.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So you see, guys, you can get the EA, but you don't have to stop right there. You can get other certifications like what Scott did, and then like the amount of money, the fees that you can charge, and the clients you can bring in. To me, this like really expands the opportunities for it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And then credibility too. It's like, hey, if they have a book of business under and they're trusting you, I mean, I compare it to almost being in bed in between the wife and the husband, right? You know everything about them. That's the one thing I don't know if you've seen this though. When people go through divorces, they have life
oh,
events, someone dies.
oh,
You turn into a
oh.
counselor at times, man. You're just like, holy shit. I didn't
Scott, did
expect.
I tell you that my niche is actually therapists? That's who I mostly deal with. They have, I'm sorry to say this, they have messed up lives, and I have to play therapist to these therapists. And yes, they
Oh
go through
man.
divorces, addictions. When
Yeah,
when you're dealing with other people's problems, I mean, that can't not have some kind of effect on your own mental
dude.
health.
Dude, like totally. I mean, but one of the owners was going to go through a divorce and through mediation, decided to stay together for the
Mhm.
kids. And I think more or less, she saw him with a 29-year-old and he was like almost 60. And so she's like, no, he's mine.
Oh,
So yeah, they made it work. I'm happy for him. Get the kids out of the house, then finish the divorce. Yeah.
yeah.
And then yeah, there's stuff like that. People die. I had very nice. I call them the old couple. We meet at Carl's Jr. We have lunch every year.
Hardee's for those on the East Coast, right?
And
Or did they change it?
yeah,
Or
no, it used to be Hardee's. Yeah, depending on, I think it is still is out there.
is that
Still the
the yeah.
Star, I think though.
Yeah, same logo, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So their son ended up, killing himself or whatever. And so you see him cry, you see him go through these life events, and then that when you end up going through stuff like that with the client base, they're never going to leave you.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, and this is what I tell people, like if you do a good job and you're, empathetic, communicative, and you're
Mhm.
good at what you do, you got them for life, you guys. Like
Yeah.
you almost, and in some ways it's like hard to get rid of them if you want to, because you've done such a good job.
I I went through a kind of shitty point this year because I got busier than I expected, and so I was working like 10 hours a day.
I hear you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, fuck this. I'm going back to a W-2 job. This is bullshit. These
Oh,
people
really?
think I can pull fucking miracles." I was
So you,
cursing the
you re- I've,
storm.
I've been through that. You reached that point too. You hit that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, I kind of went through this phase of just like, what the hell am I doing?
Mhm.
But then you kind of you work your way through it. You're like, I just got through 150 returns in a god awful time. And yeah, man, it turns out to work out. And the freedom, what I'll say is like, yeah, you go back and you look at those W-2 jobs, but the freedom that you get 9 months out of the year.
Dude, I
Yeah,
I I know I'm so miserable, obviously, for busy season, but I can't lie. I like the rest of the year. Even when it gets a little busier in the fall with the
yeah.
extenders, I'm not miserable.
Hmm.
Um, I wanted to put this one up real quick, and at the very end of this, we'll give all of Scott's information. But Nick, as Steve is saying, in the future, I may have to send an email to Scott to ask some questions, certs and everything. Are you
Hmm.
open to anybody, writing you just for questions about any
Absolutely,
of
yeah.
this? Okay.
Sure, yeah. And then if you can give feedback too, because like
Oh,
your
absolutely.
perspective is great too. Yeah, maybe CC both of us and
Definitely. I'm happy to
yeah.
be copied on any of these because you guys, I say this, I do this. This is fun. We're getting drunk talking about what we do. But I also want to, for lack of a better term, educate you guys. Like you can do what Scott and I are doing. Like you can do this, and it's a great career field right now. So Part of why I do this. Yeah.
Yeah, and during the busy season, when I back to that W-2, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, so I raised prices on everybody. I added like $150 a month to the
Don't be scared to
retainers.
do that. Don't be scared to do that.
I was thinking, yes, I'll get rid of this restaurant, this school, that thing. They all accepted it, dude. They took it. I was like, son of a bitch.
Scott, I've made this mistake. So you got to raise it by more than you think you should raise it. And those that complain, especially after the year we had with inflation, remember, there's a shortage of us.
Right.
Dude, I used to be like, and Clary will tell you, I was Mr. Nice Guy. Like, I don't want to offend them. They've been loyal. Listen, man, like, we got to look out for ourselves. I hate to say it, but you've got a family. I've got my own bullshit going on. We got to price ourselves what the market will allow us to price ourselves at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to do it.
Yep, definitely. Yeah. So no, really, I mean, trying to work the two-pronged approach, as Cappy says. Yeah. I mean, that's the only way to do it. You did it. I did it. At some point, I had a $12,000 October in 2020.
Nice.
Yeah. So I had some stuff fall in my lap, and that was the point where I was like, all right, pulling the ripcord. We're going out on our own. And yeah, I gave up the W-2 that year. And then ever since then, it's been nothing but this.
And if I can be so bold here, you guys, Scott has a family. He's got kids. You younger guys who are like, should I do this? I'm scared to do this. Like, what? What are you scared of? Like, you don't have anybody else to support. Like, do it. What's the worst that can happen?
If you put yourself with no plan B, which is where I was, like, this is going to be it. And you'll second guess yourself every day. There's peaks and valleys with happiness with running your own business because there's shitty times.
Yes.
Getting a text on a Sunday, with the fire of someone, whether it's legitimate or not. That shit will drive you crazy. And that's what happened to me April and May. I was just like, these motherfuckers need to leave me alone. Like, yeah. So long story short, you can do it. No plan B. If you're dedicated to it, there's going to be plenty of business for you. I was telling Chad here that as young as some of you are doing this, I'm impressed. Like, I joined the military at 23, 24, 25. I wouldn't have had the maturity to complete these courses, to have the foresight to look forward. I was still deployed all the time, coming home, just looking to have fun. Got married young. It was just a different time for me. So those who have the maturity and the foresight, you're setting yourself up for unlimited income.
You guys, the sky is your limit, because I'm still, and Scott, you're probably getting this too every so often. People hit me up and they're like, you got room for more clients? And I'm like, no. I mean, I give them my minimum. I tell them who I work with. And I mean, here, somebody said it here. Scott, were you here for the show when we talked about Japanese refusal, where you price it so high that, like, you're saying no? A Japanese refusal is where you're saying no, but you're actually saying yes, except you have to pay me a shit ton.
No, I wasn't. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to try that this year.
Honestly, man, again, I'm biased. I've been doing this a while. I think you would be shocked at how much you could raise your prices and how little impact that's going to have, like, on people leaving. They're not going to leave. They can't find anybody else.
What's pretty awesome is if you can run an organized business, keep the books year round. And this is the efficiency of tax season. So I'll have 42 business returns pushing transmit in February, because I do the books. It'll all be reconciled. It'll be signed, paid for in January, and I'll be hitting transmit. 85% of my work's done.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's the continuity of doing the books. I know you outsource it. If I could find someone to do that, I think I would. But they want that single point of contact. Every time I deal with these people, it's like, hey, can you do the books, payroll, and the taxes? And then you have to build out that yearly retainer, and then the tax season bill.
That's the one thing I will say about these therapists, is that they kind of don't care, because they're just like, you'll do my taxes. Oh, so I have a bookkeeper, and of course I've got the payroll. I just send them to them, and we're kind of a loose team, and they're fine with that. So I do have some sympathy for you there. I think it's mainly the investment side that really kind of marries you to having sort of, you know, the one-stop shop, right? Or
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's still, and I don't really pitch them salesy. I just say, here are your options. You can go do the paperwork on your own. You have the BlackRocks and the Vanguards that'll waive your fees. You can leave it with me. You have a managed account option with $50,000 or more. He'll charge you roughly, 1% a year, 1.5, depending on what we do and what we set your fees at. Or you can just do the front-loaded funds, move the money around, passively, actively manage it. You don't want to move it around too much, but put them to good solid funds, and dollar cost average over the next 20 years, you're going to double or triple your money. So those are really the options. You can do it yourself, have me do it, and then I'll do diligence and make sure that we put you in the correct plan and funds. You'll agree to it. You'll pay the front-loaded fee with the either rollover or with the contribution,
right?
And then I'll make a percentage of that fee.
Listen to Scott, you guys, because he's exceeding, like, I do taxes, I just like investment. Sky is your limit when you're in,
Yeah, but I mean, you're not making millions. I mean, you put $100,000 in, you get charged, what is that? We'll just say 5%. It's a $5,000 fee. I'll get 30% of that. You're not making millions, right? But you're getting the business, you're earning their trust.
Yes.
And that word of mouth is just going to snowball.
And that's what I was thinking. It's more like the word of mouth. Like, dude, your name, you were saying you only started this a couple years ago. Like, Scott, you're going to reach a point where you're going to be hiring, or you're going to need to hire people. I believe this.
I mean, hopefully if the broker dealer takes off and does what it's supposed to do, then those residuals year over year will end up covering the cost for a staff, and then you just kind of oversee it.
And then you're a manager.
Yeah,
you've succeeded. Yep.
So my whole goal with this, my tax planning for myself, I hate Schedule C. I hate anyone who does it.
I don't do Schedule C, dude. I'm like, I refer them out because I'm like, if you're not a corporation at this point, I mean, I'm stuck with a few of them, but I hate Schedule C too. Yeah.
Yeah. So my own, because I'm going to get a 1099 from the parent broker.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. So that 1099 is going to have a professional fee to the corporation, and the corporation will W-2 me.
There you go. Spoken like a true tax professional.
There we go. Yeah. Schedule C will have one line on it. It'll be a net zero, and then I'll W-2 the rest of it.
Do the back, yeah.
The IRS gets their money one way or the other, whether it's on Schedule SE or whether it's in a W-2.
You guys, all the IRS gives a flying fuck about is if they get theirs. That's it. In my case, Illinois. In Scott's case, Arizona, and probably some
we
other
got
states.
FUTA and SUTA and this tax,
all that
and that
bullshit.
Tax, and then
Scott, I have a real problem right now, and I think you have the same problem. In fact, I can confirm it.
All right. We'll have the crowd go refill.
So we are going to take probably about a 60-second break here. Normally, since Clary doesn't drink, he plugs his bullshit on here, but I think Scott and I both need to get another beer. So we will be right back, and I'll show you what I get for the next one.
All right. All right, we're back. I stuck with the same. And Mateo, when Chad gets back on here, we'll try to go into more specifics with the nuances of figuring out what tax software to use and things like that. So.
All right. Sorry about that, Scott. I had to
Oh,
commit
you're fine.
to the GF because she got me this beer sampler and she did such a good job with it. In fact, oh, well, you start. What's the next beer that you got?
Dude, I only have one. I'm lame. Like I said,
Oh,
I
you
don't
got
drink a
the
lot.
same one?
Yeah, same one.
Oh,
So, but I am officially refilled.
oh, well, there you go. So, you guys, this one is called, and those who know me on here will think this is really funny. This is called medical grade haze. Okay. It's an IPA. It's a hazy IPA. I'm trying to find the brewery. It's called Community Beer Company. I don't know where it's from. I'm looking. Dallas, Texas. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas right now. So, Scott, I'm gonna admit this to you. I hope you don't lose respect for me. Beer is actually not my preferred vice of choice. I prefer
Okay.
a different one, which is legal in the state that I live in. I think it's legal in Arizona as well.
It is, yeah, dude. You can't walk around without smelling it now.
The same in Chicago. You can't.
Yeah.
um, but she got this one for me, which I've never had because she thought it was funny that it's called medical grade haze because I've got a medical marijuana card in
Oh,
Illinois.
cool.
So I
Yeah.
don't know what this tastes like, so I'm excited to try it. So give me just 1 second here.
Yeah, no worries. And then Super Pilot-ish. This is the State 48 Brewery from Phoenix, Arizona. So we'll go with. Let's see.
You said that was tell me again what type of beer that was. I know we had it on.
This one was a mosaic hopped IPA. I have no idea what that means. If anyone in the chat can let us know what a mosaic hopped IPA is, that'd be awesome.
I'll tell you what it means. It means it's some tasty motherfucking shit. You guys, give me just 1 sec. My mic's being a little weird, so. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right, we are good to go.
All right.
Let's see what this one tastes like.
Here we go. He's gonna have an orgasm.
I might. Some of these IPAs she's been getting me are insanely good, but here we go.
She's up all night on her phone figuring it out. Trying to keep you happy, man. That's good.
Oh, you know what? This, again, I know I'm Mr. Positive here. That is fucking phenomenal. It's got a little bit of an extra kick compared to the last one that I had. It's a little bit lower in ABV. This one's 7.7 compared to the 8.1, but the IBU is 40. So I really, really like this one. It actually tastes a little bit like weed, if I'm being honest. So,
okay, yeah.
You know,
you probably
hit it. It's good stuff.
Perfect. Yeah. Hey, Chad, I saw some people talking saying this was a good conversation. I wanted to ask you, what was your experience? You're sitting in a Big Four, was it? Was it?
Yeah. So I went, try not to lose respect for me because I regret this too. I went the MBA route because I didn't quite have enough accounting hours. And of course, you need a master's now. I didn't have enough to sit for the CPA exam, at least in Illinois. So what I should have done was just gone for a 1-year master's in accounting program, but I went ahead and got the MBA. And so when you're at the MBA, you know, you do get a lot of Big Four recruiters. And so I'm like, all right, if you'll start me at a senior tax accountant, I was with the Big Four for a brief time. It was, I don't mind telling people, it was with EY. I despised it. Oh my God, that is a toxic culture.
But
Horrible.
Was it priceless for you? Like to sacrifice 12, 24,
No.
36 months?
No. Now, okay, you guys, I was already 30. Okay. For you younger guys that are on the CPA route that are just kind of starting out, and if you do want to, if you're in your early to mid 20s, yes, go Big Four, because it's like a thud on your resume and you get great experience and you can honestly do whatever the hell you want, I think. You know, if you have that on your resume when you're that young. The thing is, I had already like I'd worked for the US tax court. I'd worked for the DOJ criminal tax division. You know, I'd been in the white collar crime unit. I didn't feel like I needed to be there for what my goals were.
Yeah.
So, so honestly, I shouldn't have done it. Like I didn't last that long. I didn't like it. But that doesn't mean you guys shouldn't do it. If you're on the CPA track and if you're either going to stay in corporate and then go in private industry or start your own practice, again, on the CPA route. Okay. Did you ever consider working in any places like that, or?
No, not really. I went directly to big corporate accounting and financial analytics and financial planning, decision support. So you get pretty good experience with the GL, which helped me segue into the business side more than the individual side. I probably knew more about the business side in tax first before, you know, once you get the EA, you decide on what software you're going to use. You get your E&O, which is your errors and omissions insurance, and you're free to practice. Because I was more comfortable with P&Ls and balance sheets and how all that worked, it just segued perfectly. So I had probably more of a learning curve coming into all the nuances of itemized taxes and non-residents and Form 843 for the non-resident, 8288, all this stupid.
I don't like the NRs.
It just depends on what your niche is. I mean, there's people out there that know real estate, you know, could get you a real estate professional status inside and out. And so like it's very niched, like everyone has their specialty.
And this I was going to say, like I found my niche. I told you guys about it. You know, it's the therapist. Scott kind of sort of has a niche. You know, he was telling me about it a while back. I honestly think in a way that's sort of the secret to a lot of this is like, if you find a niche, your name is going to spread like wildfire within that niche. And then you don't have to find clients because the clients are going to find you. At least that's what happened to me. So, I wanted to just show this one real quick from Sarah Mahmood. Why does everyone hate Big Four? It's not that everybody hates Big Four. It's just it has a reputation as a meat grinder where you are severely, and I mean severely underpaid, and you are severely overworked. But that's because the Big Four knows that they can get away with it. And yeah, it is a meat grinder. It just, I was too old to put myself through that, to be honest. So I was just like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. I mean, I told you my patience with corporate was pretty. I told one boss to fuck off and they asked me to come back.
You
I
told me
off the job, told him to fuck off. At 9:30 he texts me and says, hey, come in, we'll work this out, because it would have looked bad on him since I was within like my first week of starting. He just came at me with a pissy attitude and like coming off of deployments and stuff. I was just like, fuck yourself, see you later, I'll find something else.
You know, actually did some stuff that, for lack of a better term, you know, matters. So when you get these pencil neck, he was probably this wispy like loser that was just trying to order you around, and you're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Old traditional dude. The guy had more paper in his office than you would ever imagine. He like couldn't use PDFs, but he was in charge of everyone who was smarter than him, and it was crazy.
Was he? Did you say he was older, or was he?
He was in his mid-50s. Yeah, he was 50s. Down to his last years of retirement. His wife was about to retire. We actually became friends after that.
Oh, really?
I told him to fuck off. Like we did a Wounded Warrior Project fundraiser together out at the Baton Death March. So him and his wife put some money into it. We ended up doing it with a friend of mine who lost his legs, and it was pretty cool. Yeah. He turned out to be a nice guy, but sometimes like these people just think you're you're just a tool for them to manipulate.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
What would
Yeah.
you say? I think we talked about this. Would you say that like being in the military, particularly being deployed, uh, and that just lends itself to entrepreneurship? Because I mean, you can't be in this corporate hierarchy where these people who frankly suck and don't know shit are trying to like abuse you and order you around. I mean, that's kind of what I felt.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of reports and meetings that have no
Ugh,
outcomes, and so like,
waste
hey,
of
we want this
time.
report. Well, why am I rerunning this report? Because you run it every month, not because it has an outcome, right? So
Right. It's a waste of
it was just
time.
stupid. Yeah, yeah. And so that's what drove me. I started watching you and Clary. I told you around 15, 16. I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly when. It was when you started doing some accounting videos for him.
Yeah,
I
about
think you were back at
2016. Yeah.
right in your office was one of the first ones I watched.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I ended up writing him. I was like, what did you do to get your entrepreneurship going? What do you think about, do I do the CPA, the master's, blah, blah, blah. And it's a questions that he gets frustrated with because he's done 50 videos on each subject already. Yeah. But
He gets frustrated with everything, Scott. So
I think being able to kind of reverse engineer with your videos and Clary's videos on where you want to go, whether it's starting your own HVAC business or accounting business, having that goal to break yourself of the traditional way and have that freedom and freedom of choice to set that ceiling where you want it to be.
absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'd rather be homeless than go back to that environment.
Scott, I'm spoiled for life. I don't think
Yeah.
I can never have a boss ever again. Like I just wouldn't work. Like I've actually, here's a good, would you mind reading this comment from Nick as Steve for me?
Scott probably already dealt with enough dipshit series from the multiple times in the military. Oh, hell yeah, dude. More stories. Yeah. So within my last 6 months in the military, I got an Article 15 for getting into a bar fight.
What's an Article 15?
It's so I got into a fight outside of like work hours, and you get a non-judicial punishment. So I got into a fight with somebody who outranked me. I punched him, and because he outranked me, I got in trouble for it. It was like it was just like a different time back then, man. Like people would take off their rank and go settle it out back, shake hands, and then go have a beer. But I ended up getting in trouble on that one because I really didn't like the guy. Long story short, lost the rank before I got out, and so like your bullshit level, like it just goes out, takes it to the next level. So, the kids have definitely, like all of my friends who have deployed and like gone into most of them have gone into entrepreneurship. I have a few people who are retiring this year at 22 years in the Marine Corps. But most of them go into entrepreneurship, figure a way to be on their own, to have that hustle and that drive to kind of control their own way, rather than drone in.
You just can't be a cog after that, like,
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think even once you earn something like the CPA or, the bar, you pass the bar exam, like that's a status point where, dude, fuck you. I've taken 4 of the hardest exams, that's why you're probably smarter than most. And a lot of people who have passed the CPA are probably highly intelligent.
They're good at taking tests. That's what they are. They're good at taking tests.
That takes intelligence. I mean, you have to figure it out. And so you have to come down and figure out whether you want to conform or kind of take your own path. And because you can't step out of line in corporate America, just like the military. It's those who conform and are willing to stay within those rules versus step out of line and say, dude, you're full of shit. Like,
Scott, we got a couple of regulars. I have to read these.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Parker says, I got an Article 15 my last 6 months too, a slightly different reason. Dude, if you feel like elaborating in the chat, we're all ears. But then Alex Patino, who's another regular, says on 29th of June 2007, I got an Article 15 in Iraq for fighting too. A higher ranking NCO got demoted 1 rank. What's an NCO? Is that
non-commissioned officer? So I had the same. So my Article 15 in Iraq for getting into a fight for someone who couldn't operate an 240 Bravo, who was outranked me. He was supposed to be in the turret. said, "Oh, I don't know how to use a weapon." I was like, "What the fuck? We did the Rock Top 20, which is top 20 weapons you're going to run into in Iraq." And got into a fight over there. They suspended it because I was a good human being. The battalion commander said, "We're going to suspend it. You fuck up one more time, we're taking your rank." Yeah. So I got in trouble when I got back again with the same person. one too many.
Oh, was that a factor in it, or was it?
Yeah. And so that's what caused them to say, "Hey, outside of it being a fight, you were intoxicated and all that." So that's what got me on the second time. So Alex, man, that's awesome, dude.
Alex is a regular.
Yeah, he's a wild dude, apparently.
Dr. Elvis H. Christ, I'm not calling you out. I want to clarify this comment that you left right here. He said that you don't have a boss. You now have a lot of bosses. No, we don't. We can, because if we, I have so many clients, and, I think Scott has plenty of clients. If we lose one, quote, boss, who cares? We can replace them whenever.
So I'm trying to segue on that. I'm trying to find a text message this morning from a client. "Can you call me when you get a chance? So-and-so has a question about payroll from back in March. I'm confused about the pay stubs."
Really?
So they had forgot. So they converted from 24 to 26. And so we had a 5-day payroll to bridge into that 26 payroll system.
Yeah.
And so I had 2 voided payrolls in there.
Okay.
Because I originally ran the 24, and they're like, "Oh, let's just convert to 26. We'll run a 5-day." So I went in there, voided the payroll, had a fat finger on one, voided one more, and then ran the final payroll on it. Long story short, it was a 5-day payroll. So they combined the 5-day bridge with the first 26 payrolls.
Sure.
And that netted out to what she was supposed to get paid. And so like, "Oh, okay, I forgot about that. I had to go back to what the hell did we do 9 months ago?"
So see, you guys, you have to be creative and problem solve with a lot of things like this. I don't deal with payroll, and honestly, Scott, that's kind of why I'm just like, ugh, my brain hurts. I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, it sucks, dude, because you're like 9 months ago. Fuck. So I had to go back into share file, look at my notes, look at this specific employee, and then figure it out. So
I'm sorry, I don't mean to harp on this. Parker says, "I got super drunk at a unit golf course, blacked out, left my phone in the car, ended up walking around Italy for about 9 hours, ended up breaking Italian curfew at the time." So this was during COVID, I presume, or so that's how you got that.
That's so funny, man.
Alex, you have something interesting to say. "Let me tell you what got me promoted to staff sergeant. So there was a soldier who was about to be chaptered out of the army for overweight because he refused to enlist to go to Afghanistan in 2016. So you got promoted because of that?" Or, interesting. "I found his counseling packet. I took it, hid it. When another senior NCO found it, he put me in." Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. God, man, there's a lot of
there's
politics.
There's so much bullshit in the military. You have no idea. Yeah.
Jesus.
Here, I can read one from. So the Marine Corps birthday was last week.
Yeah, go for it.
Where's Nick, Mike, and Ryan?
Here, I'll see if I can find it. I wonder if there's a way I can make it so you can display these. Was it further up or?
I'm looking on my phone. I was actually going to share a message from a buddy of mine who's retiring.
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah, I thought it was a chat. Yeah.
Oh no. So he was saying, "Hey, have you talked to Sergeant Travis Wall?" At the time we were in the Marine Corps, Lance corporals deployed, all that stuff. We got back with the 26th MEU. We were in Bahrain. He got drunk, and the Navy sentries at the front of the gate of the Naval Support Activity pulled their guns on him because he was like, "I'll fight you all." And so Sergeant Wall was on guard that night for Firewatch and like saved his ass. And now he's retiring as an E9 22 years later. So when I'm in Houston, I'm going to try and make contact with Sergeant Wall, Travis Wall, and try to link them both up so he can go to the retirement. Because if it wasn't for that, he would have been fucked. He would have been kicked out.
So he really got lucky then.
He got lucky, yeah. So
what do you think of this? Nick's saying the military has worse political games than corporate. Like in your experience, is that the case? Or
Does anyone on the chat remember general orders in Iraq and Afghanistan? Like, you can't drink, you can't fraternize, you can't like there's these stupid rules that are out there. But then in 2000, was it 9 or 11? I was in Afghanistan at the time. Like, Petraeus got in trouble for selling secrets to some. I can't remember exactly what it was. He was doing a book or something, being interviewed. He was banging the reporter, some super cute reporter.
Yeah.
But yet he's busting people down daily, from, corporal down to lance corporal, or specialist down to PFC in the Army, for, finding a piece of ass on deployment. But yet he's doing it and getting paid millions on a book that he's going to write. Yeah, it's just stupid, man. Like, yeah.
Well, let me get a little, and you don't, this might be slightly on the deep side. Like, Scott, do you ever regret joining the military, or do you think it was the right
Not
move?
at all. I needed it.
Not
man.
at all. Yeah.
No. So my dad raised us single parent, me and my sister. He had his own auto shop. He made me work in the auto shop for sports money. Like, I had to go pull hours during the summer, doing service tickets for him. And there was a lady named Brenda who did the books for the business.
Oh, yeah?
And his partner.
Yeah.
So I had to sit there with her smoker voice. Yeah, that's the debit. You got to go right here.
She taught you accounting.
Yeah, my first two courses at Grossmont and Queen Maca College in San Diego, where I grew up, in high school. My junior year and senior year, I didn't have to take math, so I took accounting. And that was kind of my integration into it with my dad. Yeah. So I took accounting 101, 102, and then 12 years later, they didn't count the courses, but I liked it, so I continued with it, going back into school. I was a late in life, kind of, getting out of the military, graduating with the undergrad at 31, and then continuing directly into the master's, and then going through all these certifications, blah, blah, blah. With the military, you'll see that a lot of older people going through, applying for the MBA courses, the master's in accountancy. I'm not sure if you saw that at Notre Dame. Sometimes the Army will pay for it for some of the commissioned officers.
They did, dude. Those were the reason I liked them so much. We had a lot of younger, frankly, too young people to be getting their MBA. I really did not enjoy my MBA experience, in all honesty. It was the commissioned military guys, even the officer, like, they took it seriously. They were cool.
You're muted. Oh, shit.
Sorry, can you hear me? This is...
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Give me one sec
You're
here.
good.
You can still hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that, guys. No, the best dudes in my MBA program were military. They really were. And I'm still pretty good friends with a lot of them today, and a lot of them are clients too, good clients. I just so we had a very immature, in my opinion, we had an immature class, early mid 20s. And so that's why I developed, my dad was drafted into Vietnam, he went to Vietnam. I've always had, and my grandpa on my mother's side was a full colonel in the United States Army.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Disrespect. And I grew up overseas. So I used to get drunk with the Marines in high school. And they were banging my sister, but they always treated me pretty well. So,
of course. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I've always enjoyed it. And actually, Scott, I was going to mention this real quick. When I was out there getting this other beer, my girlfriend did ask, it's like, Scott, he's in his 20s, right? Like, he looks so I think
I turned 40 in April. So
I was like,
yeah.
I said I thought you were in your mid, maybe late 30s, but
no,
she
it's
just
camera
thought
work, dude. No. It's a high definition, whatever setting. I don't know. Nope. I feel my age too. I'm starting to catch up, man. Like,
is it starting to get you?
Yeah. But I still run. Like, you're a runner, I'm a runner. Like, we have the mountains around here. It's beautiful, dude. You ever want to get some endorphins, dude? Go run some of these mountains, get a good hike in, and just look at the scenery. It's beautiful. Sabino Canyon, the Catalinas. You have Reddington Pass, Douglas Trail Springs, which is a climb that goes from 3,300 feet all the way up to 9,800, about 12.1 miles, half marathon to the top.
Oh, that'll make your
Yeah,
heart.
yeah. So
Scott, I've never been to Tucson, but I've been to Phoenix a bit, you know, for work. Camelback Mountain.
that's a tough one.
I enjoyed it. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed it. 2004, so it was a long
that's
time
a good
ago.
one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good mountains out there. So what is it? Mesquite Mountain, McDowell Mountain. I mean, some steep climbs. They little goat trails where you're like, if you fall off of it, you're fucked.
I was surprised at how hard. I mean, it wasn't like hard where I was gonna
Yeah.
die, but like that was a challenge. Like getting up
Hmm?
Camelback Mountain, I was like, holy shit, you
Well, they
know.
have
And it was
now they did this like renovation on it where the the steps that are on that,
yeah.
they're like 2 feet, man. Like you're
Are
really
they?
stepping up to.
Wow.
They had some erosion go on, so
Oh,
they had
did they?
to reinforce it, and yeah, so.
So Scott, we have a couple of emails from fans, for lack of a better word, of all of us. But before I get to those, because I was going to do those last, like I guess I wanted to. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about? You know, about your EA experience? Really,
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
military or?
I think the biggest one is just like how to like convert passing the examinations and kind of going into why did you choose EA over CPA? I was older.
Yes, yes.
Quickest way to get to the end state. So the EA was 3 exams. The state of Arizona was a pain in the ass to get signed off on. So it was quicker for me to, instead of find a new employer, someone who would sign off on it, would take the 3 exams, get the EA, file for the license, and then with your first client, apply for your CAF so you can get the 2848s and the power of attorney.
Yep.
My first client was my service rider, called the boob job debacle. She pulled her 401k to get a boob job, forgot to pay taxes on it, had a letter come back saying she owed $7,000. And so that was my first exposure to 2848 abatements, where you call on behalf of them and then get the penalties abated and then pay the fine, because she had been up to date with her taxes up to that point.
So she got the first time penalty
abatement. Yeah.
The question on everybody's mind, I recently checked my analytics and I'm 99.1% male audience. So sausage party here. Good to see you, Sarah, and a couple others. How was the boob job? Did you see her in person after that?
I mean, they look nice.
They did a good job.
Yeah,
I've got a couple of strippers and OnlyFans sex workers as clients, and the boob jobs, while they are deductible expenses, they're not always well done. So
no, yeah, I don't know. I like natural, even if they are a little bit.
Dude, I'm also a natural type guy, and I'm not some kind of stud, but I do have some experience with fake breasts, and they're not for me. You guys,
yeah, me either. Not a fan.
It's just a waste of money.
Yeah. But
so,
I think I was going to go into like execution, right? Like what's the next step?
Yes.
The next step is figuring out, well, how much do I know, and then do I need to go work at H&R Block? Which I said, hell no. That just
you didn't need to.
No. The second step was, okay, what software? Where do you go for software? And so I started looking at what's going to have the most streamlined and affordable, because at the time I was using personal funds to fund the business. I still have it on the balance sheet as a loan from owner, so eventually I'll pay it back.
Eventually.
But I looked at Lacert. I looked at it was ATX Pro Series.
I use ATX.
They were also expensive. So I was like, dude, the licenses were pricey, and I didn't have PFIX. The 80s, what is that? 8861 or 8621, something like that. I didn't have any foreign ownerships. I didn't have anything crazy that I need supported. So what I did is Crosslink kind of mirrored a Pro Series look. They have a web-based individual and then a software-based, which I have on my computer. Some people will use like a Right Networks to keep it off their computer to back up. I hate Right Networks because I can't split screen on it.
Right.
So I don't know if there's a solution out there if you can help us with that, but so I went with Crosslink. It's about $2,000 a year for individual and business,
which is pretty good because I use ATX, and frankly, they charge me more than that. I learned how to do all this on ATX, so that's not a bad rate, actually.
But it doesn't support certain forms. So I bought Drake this year and went through a 4-day class on it up in
How do you like it?
It's clunky, but if I run into that PFIC, if I run into a 706, 709, then I have them automated. Whereas if I get a gift tax return, I have to go download the form and do it manually, which is a pain in the ass. So I wanted to work my way through Drake and see if it was going to be any more efficient. For most of my clients, I'm going to use Crosslink for the few 1041s that I might have next year.
Yeah, the trust in the state, yeah.
The states, just because of the accuracy of Drake.
Yeah.
There's some corporate stuff going on with Drake right now. So if you're looking to buy Drake, any potential EAs or CPAs out there breaking off on their own, they just merged with another company.
Did they?
And so they have like multiple different software companies that are blending into Drake. And I'm not sure if Drake's going to be the parent, but they have ownership from 3 different entities right now. And I'm not sure how that's going to affect the customer service because they do answer the phone. They're very good. It's just the toggle and the way you toggle through the forms and the sheet, it's just not efficient at all. Whereas like on Crosslink, I set up the 1041, I add form, I say I need a 4797,
sale of business
property, capital gains, whatever it might be. So I just add the forms, I fill out the forms. Most of it's flow through. There's very few that are actually hard-coded overrides. I'm not sure if it's the same terminology in ATX or anything.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's flow through. Scott, just a real quick, and I admit I know nothing about Drake. Like I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Is it reasonably priced, or have you even looked into that?
Like, no, I spent the money on it because I'm going to test it this year. I already did 2. So I spent 2023. It was $1,300 roughly.
Oh, okay. That's actually.
And then for the last quarter, they said for $300, we'll give you the license for this year. Because I had 2 returns where I had the Drake file from the prior accountant.
So you could just import it.
Import it. Yep.
Yeah.
And so because he had 13 rental properties, and can you imagine keying all that?
Oh, the depreciation schedule alone. Oh my God.
Oh my God. So I was like, thank God. So yeah, I imported it, and so I've got 2 returns completed on there so far. And the goal is to onesie, twosie, start playing with it more, but continue with Crosslink. Crosslink's supposed to be, the IRS has to give these software vendors permission for the forms.
Right.
So
they release it. Yeah.
And so I'm waiting on Crosslink to get permission from the IRS to get the foreign assets. I think, what's the form they're looking at? Yeah, the 8621, the foreign questions.
Oh, I hate those.
Yeah, the risk on that, man. Have you seen some of the fun? It's like a $10,000 fine if you fuck it up.
I try to avoid a lot of the foreign stuff. I'll just full disclosure. Like
But man, I mean, you go through some of your CPE, you're like, shit, dude, I'm not asking all the questions I should. Like, do you have foreign property? You do? Oh, 8621. I mean,
a lot of this stuff, like nobody can know all this. I mean, I get that there's a checklist and you do this and that. Like even the IRS doesn't know how to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, we'll talk about this. If I might follow up with you at some point about your satisfaction level with Drake, just because I do get questions about tax software, and Drake, I admit, is one I don't know a lot about. So I really want to know.
You want efficiency, dude? I can do an S corp in 20 minutes. If you have a balance sheet, the way it's set up, it's similar to Pro Series. If you've ever used a Pro Series,
I've actually used Pro Series. Yeah.
It's very efficient, man. You have a balance sheet, you get those keyed in there. You answer the questions. You make sure some of the other forms are kind of flowing through correctly. But like 20 to 40 minutes, I mean, some of those returns, because a lot of the information flows through. The first year with the new client sucks because you're keying it all in.
You got to set it all up.
Yeah. So, I would say probably from what I've heard, ATX, Pro Series, and from my experience, Crosslink.
Okay.
Probably the top 3 efficiencies. So if you want good workflow where you can just turn and burn, those are going to be the 3 you want to look at. Lacert is similar to Drake, but it does a lot of work on the back end for you. So you're just plugging numbers, but they look similar.
And I have my complaints with, ATX, which is from CCH Walters Cooler. It's just, I've been using them for 11 years now. So it's like, I'm not going to switch now. There's some things I don't like, but whatever.
Yeah. So do your homework on the front end. Find a software you like.
Yes.
When you set up a website, get a share file on your own. Don't let a third-party vendor sell you their share file. I'm dealing with that now.
Yes.
I have 148 client folders. I have to move it into my own share file now from, get net set.
Yeah. Oh,
Fucking
you got to
bastard.
move all that? So you have to
Yeah.
you have to create the folders and oh, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have to download it
Oh,
all. There's no tool for it. Yeah. Because
my
it's their license and it's a separate, it's just screwed up, man. I called help desk, some dude in India, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my December.
Shit, dude. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That does
Yeah.
not sound like fun. I'm so, ugh.
But
Well, we have a couple of reader questions. We'll see if we can get to them both. And Scott, seriously, if you have other thoughts about any of this, even if it's not pertaining to this, jump in because this has been so
yeah,
invaluable to all
once
these
you
other.
get your software, dude, from there it's a matter of where do I do my research? If I don't have a mentor, like my mentor right now locally is a guy named Michael Miller CPA out of California.
And he's shifting.
He asks me questions sometimes, and I'm like, "Here's what I've done in the past." He's like, "That's a good fucking idea. Good job."
Oh, does
man.
he really?
Yeah. So, a lot of his stuff are the PFix and the weird foreign things. So he's my kind of shoulder to lean on when I'm crying over that stuff. He helped me with that. So basically, with FERPTA, have you dealt with FERPTA at all with the Canadians?
I have avoided it like the goddamn plague. I will be honest about that. I'm just like, I don't want to get my head in the weeds with that stuff. But how is it? Is it really hard?
So I was telling you the Canadian, the 10
Yeah.
the non-resident. So he sold a house.
Property.
He's got capital
Yeah.
gains. FERPTA, they at escrow, they take 20% of the sales price to ensure the U.S. gets their share of the tax.
Yeah.
And then you can from what I researched, 843 early refund, you can get the money back to them early enough, but it could take 180 days. So I'm like, 180 days from now, we could have your tax return filed and you'll get it quicker. So I'm telling them, be patient. In February, we'll get you filed. We'll have your 4797 filled out, depreciation recaptured, all of that. And knock on wood, we get split between the two schedulees since it's husband and wife. We'll get some money back for you. And he's like, but I want my money back now. Someone else got it back. I was like, well, that's because it was a primary residence. It wasn't a rental.
Whenever somebody says to me, I can't stand it when people are like, I want my money now. I'm like, okay, go try calling the IRS for it.
Right. So I'm like, dude, I'm going to tie this up and then we're not going to be able to file your tax return to get the money. Because if it's already filed on the 843, we're going to file it. And then you're going to have two forms coming into the IRS. Refund on 1040 NR and then 843 early refund. And they're so far behind on that. I'm like, dude, just stop. Wait till February.
The left hand with the IRS does not talk to the right hand now. So yeah.
So, and then their other Canadian friend spent more days in it was a primary residence here at one point. So there wasn't a bunch of, it wasn't considered a rental property the way they had it set up.
Oh, geez.
So they're comparing apples to oranges. And I was just like, man, so luckily he's nice enough. He went through throat cancer this year. Yeah. So older guy, that's why they're selling it. They're trying to liquidate and travel a little more. So yeah, FERPTA, but I picked them up off of Thurvo.
Really?
Yeah. Have you heard of Thurvo?
I have. You got them from there?
Yeah. So I paid $20, got some credits, and then I picked up 2 1041s and then those guys.
Would you recommend it? Like, was that
hands down, dude? Like out of all the third parties, because it's the client actually looking. They go on there, set up an account, they find a local tax preparer, and it's just a generic ad, like a newspaper ad. Hey, I'm looking for an accountant. Mom passed away, need 1041.
So for you guys that are emailing me, how do I get clients? I hope you just heard that right now.
Don't spend money on Google Ads. I had one. It was a pro ball player. He had something with the Schedule E with the royalties from the Major League Baseball.
Oh, really? Sure.
So what happens is they get this like $50,000 1099.
Yeah.
Right. But with that 1099, there's a letter in there stating that $50,000 was also you never received it because it went to arbitration, it went to the Major League Baseball Players Association, it went to negotiations of the contracts. And so just like a rental Schedule E, the royalty Schedule E is a net zero. It's 50 income and then all that expense in that paragraph.
Sent right out.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the IRS only sees the 1099. They don't see the paragraph of the 1099.
So if they dare challenge it, we got a paragraph.
Yep.
That's
and
how
so
they-
then you build out the Schedule E and you submit it.
And then you charge for that extra form. Because
Yeah.
that is what we do.
Yep. And that was kind of funny because I got that call off of Google Ads. I had to grab, this was in 2020 during COVID. I had to grab someone who spoke Spanish in the office. And I'm like, dude, it's someone with a small business. It's a fucking pro ball player from Venezuela. I was like, oh shit.
Oh no shit.
Yeah. Adubre Ramos. If you could look up some of his videos.
Did he make it to the pros or?
Yeah, he's back. He's rehabbing an elbow injury right now.
Yeah.
He lives up in Phoenix. That was another FERP that I had to deal with.
Does he play for Arizona Diamondbacks?
He's in the Phillies clubhouse right now.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so down in their rehab league or whatever. But long story short, that was the second FERP that I dealt with because he sold a condo. His real estate agent's like, hey, you qualify. You're a FERPTA. I was like, no, you're not. You spent since 2015 to now. You've been a U.S. citizen. You're considered the substantial presence test. You pass it every fucking year.
Yeah.
You haven't filed a 1040 non-resident. Like, no, you're not. They're not keeping 2020. I went to escrow with them and argued.
Damn.
Because his real estate agent didn't know what the hell she was doing.
Typical. They're usually just hot women who don't have any other skills.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so she was a Spanish speaker, cutesy wootsy, whatever. But I had
Fake
to say,
boobs,
no, you're not keeping it. And then we showed him the last 5 years of tax returns. He's been a U.S. citizen. Here's the IRS rules on substantial presence. You're not keeping his 20%. And so escrow was like, okay, cool.
I have an ex who ended up getting fake boobs, which I, of course, wrote off for her on her tax return. Who became, guess what, a real estate agent with no other discernible talent. So,
yeah.
Just real quick, Super Pilish, good seeing you. Meant to say hello earlier.
Give me 1 second, real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah.
So what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to read. There's a reader question here, and it's a good one because we've talked about this. It's mainly about how you start your business and get clients, and I really think Scott's going to have some great thoughts about this. You've heard me say what you should not do when you get clients. Don't go with your friends or family. Don't do that. But I'll go ahead and read it and see what Scott thinks. So, oops, did we freeze here?
All right, I'm back. Plug in.
Oh, okay, cool. Scott, I'm going to read a question here. Now, this is from Tim. He sent it a week ago. And now some of this we've already been sort of chatting about tonight, but I really think you could add some good perspective to this. So I'll just go ahead and read it and give me your thoughts. Okay. So let's start. Hi, Chad. I recently found your channel through Clary's, and I've been really enjoying binging on all your episodes. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about how you started off initially, and happy to pay you for your time, but whatever. I'm just going to read it. I am an 11-year tax accountant with a CPA equivalent qualifications from Australia, and I too have set up my own tax agent side hustle whilst working full time. The aim is to try and build my fees to a point where I can earn close to the same income as I'm earning in my current job. And they put in parentheses $100,000 a year, Australian dollars. I meant to look up the exchange rate. If somebody in the chat can please mention, will you please check the Australian dollars exchange rate? I meant to do that. Anyway. He wants to quit so he can work for himself. While I understand the tax system is different, I assume that the strategy is building a client list for tax services. Okay. So, Scott, here's where I need your help. All right. Here's his first question. We talked about some of this, but I mean, this is like, so his first question is, when you started, how did you initially start with building your client list? And yes, we talked about that. Did you advertise? Did you do freebies for friends to get the word out? My current idea is to sponsor my sporting association, and he says it's a community basketball league, with my time to assist them with their books and compliance work. In return, I can advertise my business there. But if you have any insights as to if this is a good idea, or if you have an idea that could help supplement this one, I would be grateful for your assistance. Scott, what do you think? Because I have a couple of thoughts, but I want your ideas first.
All right. My thoughts were you start with your network.
Yes.
You tell them, hey, I started a tax practice. I started an accounting business, a firm, and you leave it at that. If you started a business, your goal is to make money. So whether it's charging them $50, like even family gets charged $50.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like there's a minimum there, right?
Oh, yeah.
I have some low income folks that I take care of for around $50, $75. They could probably get it done at a church locally. There's a program here, but everyone gets charged no matter what. Secondly, that network, taking care of them that way and doing a good job, word will spread. Word of mouth is going to be your biggest marketing tool. Yes. Secondly, don't be afraid to get rejected. I've walked into numerous restaurants and bars doing the B2B. I do B2B every summer. Once it slows down for me, summertime, people are in a good mood. It's sunshine. They're feeling good. It's nice outside. They're going to the pool. They're having drinks during the day. There's snowbirds here. People are generally happier during that time. That's when I go B2B and I start talking to folks. Hey, what do you do for a living? I run into concrete companies. Usually if you see someone on the job, they're probably overseeing their employees or 1099 contractors. Allied Concrete's one of my clients here locally. Ran into him. He referred his mom and dad. They both have Schedule C's. It just turns into kind of a snowball like that.
Yes.
But you can't be afraid to be rejected. Shake the guy's hands. Hey, thanks for at least letting me ask the question. I appreciate it.
You kind of said the magic words here, is that you guys, I was never into the pickup artistry, get happy with being rejected and everything. This was never something I got into. You guys who cares if you get rejected? Like Scott was saying, who gives a shit? It's not a knock on you. It doesn't have anything to do with you if you get rejected. Just talk to other people. You know how many people there are out there who need help? A lot. Okay.
Yeah. And most people in summertime have just come out of the tax season and they're like, I either had a really good or really bad experience with my accountant.
Right.
And so 50-50, you're going to run into someone who's like, I like him, but I'm not opposed to hearing what you have to say.
There's a lot of, this is after a decade of doing this, and I hear this, even last week I heard this. There's a lot of bad accountants out there, you guys. I'm not going to pick on the boomers here, but there's a lot of archaic fossils who truly don't give a flying fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I took over a bar and the guy had missed an entire month of payroll. So their expenses were understated. And so the reconciliation to that year-end report from paychecks to what was in the GL when I pulled them from QuickBooks was off. So we did a superseded return. Good. Because they were late getting me all the documents. So I filed them to make sure they're on time, and we superseded it instead of that February filing, because I try to get everyone done in February for the business side.
Hell yeah.
March was like March 11th. I superseded the return. I'm not sure if your software is doing that now, where as long as you file before, it'll have the quote superseded.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay. I've superseded it. I actually had to supersede a few returns. Have you been dealing with any of that K2, K3 bullshit?
Luckily not. No.
God, Scott, you need to avoid that if you can, because that is absolutely horrible and useless. So I had to supersede a couple of returns because they didn't have the information for me to, frankly, fill out those worthless forms.
And that's for foreign ownership?
What they're doing is they're trying. This is mainly it's for partnerships and S corps. Yeah, they're trying to make sure that the foreign income gets captured when you're doing, the S corp and partnership returns. I guess they're trying to get a better handle on it. Do you really think any of my therapists have to deal with like clients who live in New Zealand? The answer is no. But there were a couple of them who were like, oh, I was in England for a week in 2021 and I met with this guy and got a 1099. So there were a couple of them where I had to deal with that bullshit. it's probably something you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, there's enough.
Yeah.
I mean, there's enough snowbirds here coming from Canada and
Yeah.
overseas that eventually I'm sure I'm going to run into it, which is why I brought in Drake, because for pain in the ass returns like those PFIX and K2s,
Yeah.
K3s, that's what I wanted to backstop my year, because I ran into the 1041s this year. And
Oh, yeah?
I felt like my software with Crosslink was good enough, but I wasn't sure. So I wanted to have that kind of backstop this year coming up, and then determine which way am I going to go for the future. Am I going to get rid of Crosslink and Drake and then go with ATX, or I don't know. I'm still kind of in that crosshair where it's like, I don't want to give up that efficiency I have with what I have.
Well, don't, for what it's worth, don't like worry too much about those K2, K3s. They're annoying, but it's just some data entry bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, don't be afraid of rejection, you guys. Like, who gives a shit if somebody already has an accountant or they're not? Fuck it, talk to the next guy. Again, I don't know how much this overlaps with dating. Scott, you clearly never had any problems, with women. I never really cared enough to get into this PUA pickup artistry stuff, so I don't know.
I usually just walk in and say, "Hey, is the owner in?" Sure. Jack's over there. Hey, Jack, how you doing? Do you have an accountant? Are you happy?
That's all you have to, like, for fuck's sake. If they say yes, who cares?
Good.
I've had people that rejected me where 2 or 3 years later, they were like, "Hey, I met you a while back. I don't know if you remember me, but do you have any capacity for me?" That's just how this shit works.
Yeah. I just introduced me. Hey, Scott, I'm with Prize Tax, whatever.
Right.
Are you happy with your accountant? If so, cool. If not, I'm just here to introduce myself and let you know I'm a local accountant and can offer you some services if you ever want them. So it's I mean, as simple as that. But most of the time, it's been word of mouth. Hey, Jack's going to call you in 2 hours. I gave him your info.
There you go.
Yeah. All In Plumbing is another one. Spartan Plumbing is another one that ended up coming in because of word of mouth. They hadn't filed in 2 or 3 years, and so we're cleaning up some Schedule C's. There's missed expense.
Schedule C.
That's another one, dude. It's like, when you pass the $100,000 net income, like, why the hell are you still sitting there?
And that's where there was a failure to communicate with somebody as either accountant or whatever. All these there were therapists that were making $200,000, where I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are we not declaring S corp status? Sometimes late." So
I'd say SRC, and I say SRC, and you may disagree, but if you're going to payroll the reasonable salary for the S, or try to get as much out of that C corp, like what I do is I W-2 everything, and I leave about $3,000 in the bank account.
With these therapists, the structure is a little bit different. A lot of them are solo practitioners, but yet others have these big ass groups where they've got all these like contractors. So it's sort of a case by case basis. But yeah, most of them, it makes more sense to do the S corp. But I'm not opposed to C corps. I'm not.
Yeah, my C corp. I mean, I did that because 21% of the little bit I'm going to net is going to be a lower dollar amount than my effective tax individual side filing jointly.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to W-2 it, pay my taxes normally, and then pay the 21% on whatever's left over.
You're doing it right. So, Scott, as long as we've been so honest, I have to pee so much right now.
Dude, I hope you pee your pants, man.
Dude, this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read. He had one more question. I'm going to read it, and I'm going to let you answer it. I'm going to go pee, unless you need a break, and then I'll,
we're good.
Give any thoughts. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. Okay. So here we go. All right. And I actually have an opinion about what he's going to say. The last question is, if you could start your business all over again, would there be anything you did differently so you could build your client base quicker, such as establishing a YouTube presence immediately or not taking on the annoying subpar clients, which Chad, I know you mentioned in a previous video. So Scott, go ahead and talk about it. I will be back in less than 2 minutes, and then I might have something to add with that. So
can you hold it for 20 seconds?
Yes.
Part of the growing pains of a sole practitioner is taking on those pain in the ass clients.
Yeah.
Second part to that is the YouTube channel is great if you have kind of that bridge similar to what you had, Chad, with someone already established.
Yeah, with Claire. Clary did a lot.
Without buying a practice, spending a god awful amount of money, and then having a 30% bleed rate out of that practice you purchased. there's no other option other than taking any and everyone you can. That's my opinion and my experience. I don't see any other way.
I don't disagree. Actually, I was kind of going to say that. I'll be right back.
Okay,
But Scott,
cool.
the floor is yours. Whatever
All
you
right.
want to say, whatever you want to talk.
So those pain in the ass clients are absolutely the ones you have to take, and it helps you learn as well. It's part of the growth as a tax practitioner. There's so much to know. You can't know everything. And then using those folks as a learning tool will help you not just grow professionally, but grow the practice with that word of mouth. So what do you recommend for client portal? I've heard client TaxDome. I use ShareFile. I can't really post anything in here, which sucks. Okay, so let me go to ShareFile. Sharefile.com. That's what I use. I'm having a pain in the ass time though with that integration from the old ShareFile to the new ShareFile, because it was a subscription through someone else's server and domain, who built the website, my original website, which I've now switched over. So I guess the differences would be educate yourself on domains, websites, SEO, and the advertising side so you don't waste money and then have to set everything back up for a second time, which I went through this year. So I have two domains, legacytax.net and then apprisetax.com, which I'm converting one to the other, the .net to a .com. What companies, agencies would you stay away from applying as a new EA? Let's see. So companies and agencies would you stay away from as applying as a new EA? Are you trying to get into a tax for me's? Are you trying to get into a tax firm or more like the IRS, Department of State?
We'll see if he replies.
Yeah.
Did you answer this one?
Yes, I use the ShareFile.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually use Smart Vault, but I don't like it.
Smart Vault seems to be more popular with the ATX, Lacert, Drake.
Yeah. It integrates well with ATX. I just, there's things I don't like about it. But.
Yeah. No, ShareFile, I mean, it was simple. I now have my own license, so it won't be such a pain in the ass once I get 148 clients and all their working papers transferred over. I need to pay like a homeless midget to come do that for me.
Got muted there. Scott, the question you were answering, the only thing I want to say, and then we'll get to the final super chats, then we can wrap things up. The last thing I want to say about this is that you guys, you've heard me say this. There are family and friends that I sincerely regret bringing on as clients. You do have to discriminate at least a little bit. If you've got a relative you know has a shit ton of issues, but you feel pressured to take them on because of family, you got to say no. I don't know, Scott, what do you think about that? Because I got screwed a few times.
It depends how you're getting screwed.
Money penalty, like being paid wise.
Oh yeah. So I know she's kind of family because I've known her a long time.
Family friend, yeah.
Family friend, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. She hadn't filed in like 11 years, 12 years.
Really?
So I looked at her income transcripts for her and her husband. To maximize Social Security, she had to go back 10 years, or else she would have lost 4 years that were. So you're supposed to go 6. You're supposed to go 6, right?
Jesus.
So we went back 10 in order to get the extra $800 a month because her and her husband made so much more money during that 4-year window. but it also increased her tax liability and the penalties and everything else.
How
But
did you
we
even
had,
find the software to do that, Scott? I mean, 10 years?
if you use Pitbull Tax, or what I use now is Tax Help software, it's
Yeah.
one quarter of the price for a year. You can run the IRS transcripts going back that far.
Yeah.
And it'll give you a nice PDF report. It's beautiful. It'll tell you they haven't filed since 2008. And so then you're like, okay, 10 years is what we're going to go back. So you can maximize those peak earning years. So in 5 years, when you retire, those credit you going into it. Knock on wood, she can pay her. She only has like $7,000 left, which isn't a lot.
It's not a ton.
No. But we wanted to file those years so she got credit for it.
Scott, you're a better dude than I am, because when I get that stuff, I'm just kind of like, I can't, I just don't want it. Like, I'm like, this is such a pain in the ass.
I made $850 for 4 hours of work. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Well, that's pretty good. That's good.
Yeah, they paid. So I was like, well,
there you go. It's got, in some ways, a lot of this, what the work we do is about your level of pain threshold. And I've kind of reached a point where I'm just like, ugh,
in those scenarios when you don't have all the documents because they lost them all, what you do is because a lot of those have to be paper submitted anyway.
Yeah.
They go through Austin, Texas.
Yep.
So you take their wages and earnings statement and you do the best you can with it. That's all you can do. And you send it in, and then the wages and earnings statement, basically when that person gets it, they make hand corrections within the system when they process it. Yeah. And so they'll fix it for you on the IRS side. I only know this because I went through an interview in Austin for a management program analyst.
Oh, yeah?
This last year, yeah. But I had no intention really to leave. I was trying to actually see.
I was going to ask if you would have actually moved.
Yeah. No. I just was curious as to like what these hiring fairs were. Mm-hmm. So I flew out there, visited a friend I was in the military with.
Yeah.
He stayed there. He was stationed out of Fort Hood, and then ended up getting remarried there and all that stuff. So visited him, and then went through this IRS thing. Ended up getting into like what they did on a daily basis, and they offered me a position there. And I was like, no, I want in Tucson. I was trying to like see, hey, are you going to hire in Tucson? Because I was curious. I was like, could I get a GS 1314 to get 100?
Which is a good rate. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, they're coming in 911.
I capped at 11 in my 20s.
Yeah. So I was just like, shit, well, whatever, it was worth it. And I got to learn more about the IRS while I was out there.
You got to visit Austin and see a friend. So.
Yeah. So, but so with some of those, like the ones that went from like 2015 back to 2012, I got the softwares downloaded, keyed in what I had off those wages and wages statements, and then from there corrected a few flow through issues, and then printed them out, had them sign it, and then mailed it in. And what happens is they go through it and they'll make the auto corrections. Yeah. So you do the best you can with them. When we pull their transcript back, they made a couple auto corrections in there. But
and again, guys, this is how you make money doing this. So.
Yeah. And so we try to get her paid up to a certain point to get some of the abatements taken care of as well. So ask for forgiveness. They were actually sick for some of those years, and we had doctor's notes from those.
So there was sympathetic to it.
Sympathetic, yeah. So we got some forgiveness in there, but they still had significant. I mean, I think half of what they currently owe was penalties and interest. So
at least they got some of it forgiven.
Yeah, it does accrue quickly. A surprise, like
it's like a snowball. I've seen it, man.
It's a payday loan, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, people think, oh, I can just ignore these letters, and I'm like, are you fucking serious, dude?
Yeah.
And then when they've got like a $30,000 total tax, penalties, and interest, I'm just like,
dude, I have one now with a $70,000.
70?
It's at collections. Yeah. So. Is what it is, man.
Scott, let's run through the rest of the super chats, of which you get half. So dung is fun for $5. This is meant to be funny. I'm still on the fence about being a CPA because I can't get the girls. Clary's his whole thing. How do I get the girls? I don't know, Scott. Like, being a CPA never itself got me laid, but you can make money doing it. So maybe indirectly. Same with an EA. You know, you can make money doing it.
I don't know. Strippers make money.
Strippers do make money, and I actually so they have actually, Scott, real quick. It's funny. I did have to start a couple of S corporations for girls on OnlyFans that were actually making quite a bit of money on OnlyFans.
At least they're being honest about it. I want to know how many of those OnlyFans never did anything legitimate with the money they made.
Well, that's what's interesting. Now, obviously, they're giving them their Venmo, their Cash App, which are now they're issuing their own 1099s, but OnlyFans themselves will issue 1099s. And when it hits six figures, I'm like, you know, I actually, fun fact, a few months ago, I had one of them on here. I had one of my cam girl clients on here who we did start an S corp for because she was making.
I'll have to watch that. You
might enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just put interview with a cam girl, you know, in my channel. It was when was this? This was August, I think. It's there.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I had to start an S corp for a couple of OnlyFans girls.
Do they actually run the W-2, or are they just trying to avoid the self-employment tax?
I was actually the one that was like, all right, you're paid, because they were Schedule C, of course, you know, until I got the 1099. And I'm like, you made how much? All right, do you expect to keep doing this? And when I looked at their figures, side note, they gave me their login information to OnlyFans so I could verify that they were actually getting this type of business. That's the only time I've been on OnlyFans, and I'm not bullshitting you guys. I don't go to shit like that, especially when it's free, other sites. But these dudes are paying them. And I was like, well, you don't need to be paying that self-employment tax. I'll set you up with the salary. Just, I don't understand why guys pay for that, but whatever.
I don't know. I figure with like Bumble and Tinder, there's enough free.
Just go to Pornhub, for fuck's sake. It's free.
But even ugly dudes are getting girls on the Tinders and all that stuff. Like, I have friends who aren't the most attractive dudes who are out there running amok, man.
Dude, yeah, that's why, you know, this whole corner of the internet, there's a lot of material on that. That was just I was never like, I don't understand it.
I would be afraid for those girls to get chopped up by some Freddy Krueger weirdo that wants their, I don't know.
And guess what, dude, Scott? Almost all of them have either boyfriends or husbands that are putting them up to this. Like, what the fuck?
You want your sugar mama? Yeah,
I like just it. A little fucked up. I mean, I don't know.
It's reverse engineering, man, of the hedge fund husband letting the wife doing.
It's reverse something. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Noah West, or Mariah West for $5. Oh, I know Mariah. Florida CPAs, this was an hour and a half ago, so she might not still be on. Florida CPAs only require a bachelor in 1 year under a CPA. Is there a difference in the money you can demand for your services with a bachelor and a CPA and a master's CPA? No. All you need to do is get those letters behind your name, and it honestly doesn't matter how you got them. And again, I want to reiterate, the letters that I have, the CPA, that's for marketing. There's absolutely nothing that I can do that Scott can't do, not in the world that we do, not with tax. So it's just, the CPA was unnecessary, but I did it anyway. So yeah,
it's a priceless test. Like, if you can pass it and get someone to sign off on it,
but it's that second part that I have a real issue with. If you pass those tests, you should really just be able to get it. Like, obviously you're going to work in accounting, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the time sink and the money sink is just.
That's why nobody's majoring in it, and why there's again, good for you and I, Scott, but like, no one's going to go into this because the barriers to entry are way too high.
How much was your MBA? I spent $41,000 on my master's, dude.
Dude, I almost don't even want to tell you. This is with a partial scholarship, including living expenses, and I went to I lived in it wasn't very expensive. I was in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. I did go to a school that was way too expensive for MBA. I'm embarrassed to say $80,000. I sunk $80,000 into that bullshit, and I didn't have to.
Your network, though, did it? Like, you could have
helped.
Probably it helped, right?
It did help, but I just think that was a pill to swallow, because I could have started my business earlier if I wanted to pay off all my student loan debt, you know, before I did that. So Clary has this whole deal about an MBA is worthless. I don't think I can disagree. You don't have to get an MBA.
I think all the degrees are worthless as far as like you need some fundamental knowledge, but the masters, to me, the classes, the only thing that was different between 101, 102, 201, 202, 456, and 463
Right.
was they put a 5 and a 6 in front of the course and they call it advanced. Like it's like an accrual is an accrual, bonds are bonds, the GL is a GL. Like it's I don't know. Maybe the capstone was a little harder with the CPA exam and some of the projects that you had to do, but like you can make anything as fucked up and retarded as you want. But is there something that you're learning from it?
I'm going to continue to say, Scott, I've said this on a lot. Like my biggest regret was not doing the 1-year master's in accounting program to sit for the CPA and doing the 2-year MBA program. That was very stupid of me. I probably could have gotten the same network and I was out 40 grand because of it.
You got to go to a Notre Dame game, right? Football.
I went to a bunch of Notre Dame games.
That's cool.
They sucked dick like when I was a student there at football, but the tailgating was fun.
Yeah,
and I will put it on record that I don't actually root for them. I root for my undergrad, mainly because Notre Dame sucks. So fuck them. Sorry.
All right.
This is Mateo again for $4.99. Loving the convo so far, fellas. This is great stuff. Very insightful. Cheers. Cool. Well, thanks, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
I do this for fun. You know, we get to drink and we make a little super chat money, but we want to educate here. So that's why we're here.
Don't waste money on a rental. So I signed a 2-year lease 2 years ago for $450. But I mean, $450 a month has led to some clients as well. So I picked up a transportation business, a shipping business, and then did a few things with some lawyers there that were in the same building.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a break even there, but at the same time, if you can do a remote practice, 100% save the rent expense and pay yourself that money.
So I'm fully remote now, and I actually moved out. I was there for 5 years into my office. It's only a mile from where I lived in Chicago.
Yeah.
The clincher for me, in addition to nobody ever seeing me, there was a drag queen club that opened downstairs. That was my sign to get out of there. I'm like, I do not need to be in this building.
I figured you would have renewed, man.
Oh my God. My favorite was when one of them came up and was like, hey, I hear you're a tax guy. And I'm just going to leave it at that. That's not a client I was. No. So I'm out of that. No.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. Any more super chats? Actually, Scott, so you are going to be fully remote soon then, right?
In June. Yeah.
In June. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to have an office. You don't.
It's done nothing. There was a few days. So when Mateo was born, where like on a Saturday, I needed to get a couple returns knocked out.
Yeah.
Rather than uproot the family and say, hey, give me my office space. Like, so you're not yelling and distracting me. Like I took the 13-minute drive downtown and got my work done.
Yeah, man. If anybody insists on meeting, just be like, all right, we'll go to Starbucks, but you know.
Yeah. Even that, I mean, most people are like, hey, can you come to my house? There's an older lady, dude. She loves eating breakfast. So we meet like every 4 months and just have breakfast. Like there's stuff like that, man, that leads to 3 or 4 clients every year.
Well, I mean, it's okay to share a meal with somebody. That's not bad.
Yeah. So,
you know what, dude? I think that's actually all the super chats. So let me just make sure. Yeah, Scott. So it's episode 12 where I interviewed that cam girl. If you're ever bored and you want to check it out, you know, that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's crazy.
Well, listen, man, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find me. The old domain is legacytax.net. The new domain is apprizetax.com, APPRIZE tax, TAX.com. And then if you have questions, shoot me an email, CC Chad if you want.
Please.
We can both give you two sides of the spectrum.
Yep.
As far as starting your business, just do it. I don't know. Don't be irresponsible. Pay your bills, take care of your family. But at some point, if that's where you want to be, it's given tons of freedom for taking care of the kids, helping out as much as I can during the busy season with the kids, being able to pick them up at 2:45 and help them with homework. Both of them maxed out on their tests this year. I mean, there's incentives there that aren't tangible that are going to pay off down the line with them. So having full support of your spouse is a good thing. So you don't want to cause a rift in between you and your loved ones.
For sure.
Because it is a big one. My dad was even like, "You're fucking crazy. You're giving up 92 grand a year. What are you doing?" Yeah. So, I mean, you have to look beyond just the monetary part of it. If that 92 grand is going to give you a heart attack, what good is it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess the last thing I want to say, guys, is like, again, I do these because I don't want y'all to be afraid of taking the leap and doing this. And, Scott, I hope a lot of people will check out this episode, man, because you're going to help all of these kids. And they do email me with the type of questions you just answered. They're like, can I do this? You pretty much we've spent the last 2 hours and 14 minutes and 59 seconds, like talking about how you do it. This is a blueprint. So
I wish I would have had this when I was in my 20s, but like I said, at that point in my life, man, I didn't have the maturity. So take it for what it is. If you want to join the military, travel, get some life experience, similar to what Clary, advertises with his book,
right.
Reconnaissance Man.
Yeah.
Man. Is that Reconnaissance Man?
Yeah, I think it's called Reconnaissance Man. I know Atham, is it called Reconnaissance Man? I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So make it fit to what you want it to do. If you want to get, some right seat ride with a good accounting firm, do your homework on them before you just go take the first job that's going to be thrown at you. A lot of these H&R Block and Jackson Hewitts, they say they'll train you. You'll go through these cookie cutter courses, and then you get thrown into a scenario you have no idea what to do. And then you're the only one there on a Saturday morning with a client sitting in front of you.
So the H&R stuff, that's good sort of to get your feet wet, but eventually you are going to have to sort of, and you were actually alluding to this. It was either last week or the week before about how, it's kind of going to be a bit of self-study and a bit of like just figuring stuff out on your own.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
IRS.gov, they have a lot of information on there. Tax Library, if you subscribe to that, that's a big one that I use for just some fundamental court cases. If you want to see how the court cases have decided, if you're looking to take a position or disclose a position in your tax return, they're worth their money. Do your homework. A lot of this will be self-study. Try to find a mentor. I wish I would have had a mentor earlier on, because that would have helped the learning curve shorten a lot.
And you know what, man? At some point, you are going to be a mentor yourself.
Dude, you already are, man. Like,
no
way, man. If it wasn't for you, Chad, and like Clary's videos, what is that, 7 years ago now?
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't be sitting where I'm at. I mean, I was projecting like, how can I reverse engineer this and set a plan forward when I was watching those initial videos with you guys talking about MBA versus masters, CPA versus this, how do I get into accounting? All those initial videos were super helpful. So this is kind of the after effect of, hopefully what your videos do for people.
And I hope so too. And again, he wasn't here and he did flake on us, but I got to give credit to Clary because he's been preaching like, do this shit the smart way, don't make the mistakes that we did.
And I'll tell you right now, working with some of the labor fields, concrete, AC, plumbing, that's where the money is, dude. If your body can handle it, if you can go hang drywall all day long, dude, you can make some serious money. But you have to be able to physically deal with the demands for year over year until into your 60s. And then you see a lot of those people going to Clary saying, hey, I'm 42, I'm beat up. What do I do? And then he's like, oh, go into accounting, go figure out how to code, blah, blah, blah. But yeah. And for those who are later in life, man, you could always earn the EA and, start out somewhere making 65. There's 2 large firms here that make $3 million a year that are looking for tax preparers right now that are going to pay you 75 off the street. 1 year experience, no year experience. I mean, it depends on what announcement you look at, but that's a good salary, dude. You can feed a family.
And look, guys, and I've been preaching about this even tonight. There's not a lot of people like me, and there's not a lot of people like Scott out there right now. This is the opportunity. The boomers have retired, and the undergrads are not majoring in accounting. Everybody needs help. The world is your oyster. This is the time to do it.
Yep. I don't care if you're 45. If you have the acumen and the attitude for it, dude, that's gonna be everything. You can get this done in 4 to 6 months. a hard charger like the young man that was on there last year or last week.
Yeah, Parker.
Yeah, Parker. Parker. I mean, if he didn't need to work and wasn't playing video games and jerking off all day, he could probably get that done in 90 days, dude. Like he seemed very intelligent. Like he's one of those who could figure a test out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, Parker's gonna knock it out of the park. And being so young, like
that's what we're here for, guys. And I have been getting a lot of emails. I appreciate it, and I'll try to help y'all. And Scott, thank you so much for coming on because man, I really think this is going to help a ton of people.
Cool. I hope it was fruitful for everybody, and thanks again for the invite.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
And you guys, like I said, I might do a show next Tuesday, but if not, it's going to be after Thanksgiving. So I'll keep y'all posted, and we should hang out soon.
Yeah. All right.